So welcome to week 3 lesson. This week's lesson we're going to go over peer review. So for the first 3 forums, so far we've done an introduction, we talked about time management, and we did a food game. But in the future forums, we're going to upload the rough drafts of our paper, and then you're going to peer review other students' papers. In other words, you're going to look over other people's papers and try to improve their papers. So when you look over other people's papers, that's known as peer review. And so in the following, this PowerPoint that I'm going to go over, I'm going to go over what is peer review, how to do a peer review, and then after I finish my lecture, you can also, if anybody else wants to go over their paper the way Chantel did, then we could do it together, and then anybody else who doesn't have questions can then say, bye, Professor H, see you next week. Okay, that's what people do at the very end. So let's start. Let me share my screen and let's find my fun. Can you see what I see? It's one thing I have.
Yes, it's black. Oh, peer review, yes.
Okay, so that's one thing I had to learn was that I gotta, set up the, no, that's not it. I don't want this. I want, let's see. Okay, from beginning. All right, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Do you see what is peer review? And it's big in red?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so here at the time I did this, I was playing around with this program so you could see how much fun I had doing this. So today we're going to go over the purpose of peer review, benefits of peer review, what is constructive criticism, how to receive feedback, how to give feedback, the peer review forum, and peer review in the real world. And then next week I will go over the week 5 quiz, the next one. So here, let me go to the next one. So many students have trouble doing peer review because they think that they have to be like a grammar expert, but actually anybody can do a peer review. And so what you're going to do is that the purpose of peer review is that you're going to correct each other's papers. And it's important for everyone to be positive and think of it as a fun activity and as teamwork, because we're all doing this together. And so when we do the writing process, we do pre-writing, writing, and rewriting. When we do the pre-writing, that's when we come up with a topic and we write an outline. So that's what we did in the week 2 assignment. That's what we're doing right now. Then in week 4, you're going to transform your outline into a 5-paragraph essay structure. And then in week 6, you're going to rewrite your essay based on feedback into your final draft for your midterm. So week 6 is going to be your midterm. So pre-writing is what we did. We posted the outline. Then in week 4, we're going to transform the paper. In week 6, we're going to go over rewriting, and we're going to rewrite the entire draft. And so what is peer review? A peer review is when you review another student paper to give it feedback so that your classmate can get a better writing grade. A peer review is also when others review your paper and give you feedback. And so there are different kinds of feedback. There's appreciation feedback. So in appreciation feedback, you tell the other student, Joan, I really loved your essay because you have great sentence structure. I totally agree with your topic and you did a great job. So you give praise to the other student of whatever it is you liked about that student's paper. Because when you praise someone else's paper, you make that person feel less nervous about their paper, because everybody always thinks that they're going to be laughed at, which is normal. And so appreciation, everybody loves praise. So that's one kind of feedback, is appreciation feedback that you can give students. Another one is mentoring feedback. So in your rough draft, after you write your rough draft, you can ask other students, how did you like my thesis statement? How did you like my sentence structure? Are there any grammar or punctuation mistakes? So you can ask questions. After you put your rough draft, you can then ask a bunch of questions you want people to comment on. So don't be afraid to reach out to others or to ask me for help if you're having trouble with your paper. Like, I don't know how to do a thesis, or I can't find good sources, or how do I use the database in the library? So So you have mentoring, asking for help, feedback. So that's a second kind of feedback. And then the most common kind of feedback is coaching feedback. Coaching feedback is when you look at someone's essay and you give them advice about their sentence structure, their thesis statement, their essay structure, punctuation mistakes, or APA mistakes. And so remember, you are not grading the paper. You're just giving people advice. I'm the one that does the grading of the paper. So you don't have to worry about other students are going to sit around and grade your paper and laugh. All they're doing is giving you some advice on how you can make it better. That's it. So they're coaching. That's coaching feedback, is when you give advice on how you can make someone's paper better. And then in week 6, after you turn in your final draft, then I'm the one that grades your paper. And that's known as evaluation feedback, which is what you're not going to do. So the last kind of feedback is evaluation feedback, which is what the teacher does when she looks over your final draft to see if you have a good essay structure, any punctuation mistakes, and that sort of thing. And then the teacher gives you an A, B, C, D, or an F. So that's the teacher's job. So those are the different kinds of feedback. You're just going to be doing the first 3: appreciation feedback, mentoring feedback, and coaching feedback. Is that clear so far? Yeah. So what is peer review? Asia, what's peer review? Tamisha, what is peer review?
Peer review is when your peers look over your work and give you constructive feedback.
Have you done?
How to
Go ahead.
work.
Have you done this before in other classes?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. How is that yes and no?
So I haven't done it in other classes, but I've also had some classmates send me their work for me to look over it, and I tell them what they could fix and how they could reword things.
Cool. What about you?
It was
Go ahead.
something like the teacher made us do. It was just something that we did out of working together.
Oh, that's great. What about you, Katina? Have you done peer review before? Yeah, you're still on mute.
Oh, okay. Yes, in an English 101 class, actually, because I've had this class before, we exchanged papers actually in the classroom. She gave us time we had to write, I guess it's free writing, right? And we exchanged papers against each other in the classroom, and we just critiqued it pretty much.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, because everybody was positive. It wasn't like anyone was being negative towards your work.
And Chantal, what are the 3 kinds of feedback that you can give? Chantal?
I got to go on mute.
Oh.
Positive.
Okay, appreciation feedback, yeah.
You said. Hold on, I'm trying to look at my notes. You said appreciation, praise, and I don't know the third one.
Coaching.
Oh,
Appreciation, mentoring, coaching. Yes, so those are the 3 kinds of feedback. Anybody have any questions so far? No. So the benefits of peer review is that it builds teamwork, and it helps you learn the writing process, and it helps you come together as a class, as a community, and it improves your writing grade and improves other students' writing grade, and it builds student investment in the writing process, and it enforces your knowledge of writing, and it enforces teamwork. I think I did that already. And everybody learns. Stronger writers help the weaker writers. And then in the end, the peers learn from each other. And you discover the weaknesses and the strengths in your argument. In other words, people will tell you need to put more into your body paragraph 2, or your thesis statement doesn't make sense. And it's good professional experience for students. And then you show appreciation for students' work. And so what are the benefits of doing a peer review? Tamisha.
The benefits are, it makes your paper stronger, I
Okay,
guess.
all right. And then what about you, Josie? Is that your name?
Yes, Josie.
Josie, and that's, oh, okay, it's Josie and Asia. That your box is moved. So what did you think are the other benefits of peer review?
It builds the writer to be a stronger writer, and also the person that's critiquing it also becomes a stronger writer. Teamwork, it builds teamwork. What else?
Oh, good afternoon, Jasmine. So welcome to today's lesson. And so today's lesson is about peer review. And so the misconceptions about peer review is that don't worry that you're not a good writer. Because a lot of students think that in order to be a peer reviewer, they have to already be a good writer. So if you're not already a good writer, that's okay. I've even had ESL students who simply just appreciate everything. In other words, since they felt they didn't know enough English grammar, all they did was go, I love your paper, I love your paper. She loved everyone's paper everywhere. So that you could just do a lot of appreciation. Another misconception is, I'm not a good writer. So you don't have to be a good writer yourself. Even if you feel you are weak in English, you can still tell other students how they can improve their writing. So that peer review does not require, another misconception is, my English grammar stinks. So don't worry if your English grammar stinks. All the other students are in the same boat. They just simply don't tell you that. They think it. A lot of people think it. So if you don't see any grammar mistakes or you feel you are weak in grammar, just comment on the essay structure instead. I'm doing the English teacher's job. You're not doing the English teacher's job because I'm the one that's doing the grading. You're not doing the grading. Do you think you're good enough to grade people's papers? No. Okay. So that's the English. No. That's the English teacher's job. And then other people are. This is the most common one. I am afraid of offending my classmates and being laughed at. That's two different things. And so I will tell you that there's no reason to feel that you will offend anyone, and nobody ever gets offended, and nobody ever laughs at anybody because everybody writes at about the same level. Actually, not in this school, but at my other school, I actually had a student get angry at me for correcting her paper and putting red marks all over her paper. She said, I'm a published author, and therefore, why are you putting all of these mistakes, correcting all my errors? I'm the perfect writer. And I remember in the forum, the other students are like, well, if you're such a perfect writer, and all of us are in this class because we all flunked the English writing test, so that means that you're in this class because you also flunked the English writing test, so you must not be such a great writer. That's what somebody wrote in the forum. Then they got mad, and she got even angrier. Ever since then, I always ask students, are you offended if I give you teacher feedback on your papers? Are you offended, Chantel, if I correct your paper?
No, I would like you to correct my paper.
That's why I always ask now. What about you, Tamisha? Do you mind if I correct your paper?
You have a job to do, honey. Please do it. I'm pleased with it.
I mean, they really ate up that student saying, if you're such a great such a great writer, what are you doing in our class? How come you flunked it like we are, and that's why we're all in this class together, or something like that. They didn't listen to her. So only that one time in 30 years have I had one student get really hysterical. And then another misconception is my classmates will laugh at my peer review. No one ever has laughed at anyone's paper because everybody thinks that their paper stinks. So what are the misconceptions of peer review? Jasmine. Oh, good afternoon, Michael. Go ahead, Jasmine.
You said what are the misconceptions of peer review?
Yeah.
That someone's gonna laugh at their work or.
Yeah. Be afraid of. Have you done this kind of? I don't remember if I asked you. I know I asked Katina has done it before. Have you done this kind of peer review before? I bet you just answered that and I forgot.
No, I haven't.
Good afternoon, Michael. Have you done peer review before?
Good afternoon. Not really.
So is this new to you?
Kind of,
Okay.
but I guess for me, peer review will be good because it gives you a chance to see what everybody else think, and also if you made mistakes or anything like that, your peers will be, I guess, less forgiving.
And would you be offended if I corrected your paper?
Not at all. That's what you're here for. You know, if I'm here to be a better writer and learn, and you're here to teach me the things I need to do when I write.
Yeah, it was that student thought she was already perfect. That's why she got offended. So anyway, let's move on to this. And then how to receive and how to give feedback. So remember that your feedback are just suggestions. And so we are going to give constructive criticism. So constructive criticism is a helpful way of giving feedback that provides specific, actionable suggestions. Rather than providing general advice, constructive criticism gives specific recommendations on how to make positive improvements. Constructive criticism is clear to the point and easy to put into action. So when you give constructive criticism, you don't just simply say, you know what, Joan, your paper sucks. Or you know what, Joan, you do a bad job at your job. And then that's it. That's not constructive criticism. Constructive criticism would be, you know, Joan, everyone is really annoyed at you because you keep ending every sentence with, you know, you know, you know. Everybody finds that so annoying. So please, at the end of your sentences, stop saying, you know. And that's an actionable suggestion. In other words, when you give constructive criticism, even for someone's job performance or someone's paper, it's got to be something they can do, something doable. Like your thesis statement, it should be the last sentence of the first paragraph, not the first sentence. That's actually a very common mistake. So when we give constructive criticism, we want to give actionable suggestions. If you're going to do someone's job performance, you've got to give them an actionable suggestion on how they can improve their job. So a peer review, just like a job review, involves having an actionable suggestion. So have you ever had a boss just tell you you suck or you stink without telling you why? I have.
No.
I have, and so that usually results in misunderstandings, because if someone says you stink without telling you why, then you've got to guess why that is. And what if you guess wrong and you still make that mistake? That's why it's always good to give constructive criticism when you do a peer review. And so you don't have to be an expert, but you just give actionable suggestions of how other students can improve their paper to make their paper sound better or make sense to you. And so you can start your peer review by commenting on the student topic or telling him or her whether or not you agree or disagree with the topic, and then finding better argumentation for that topic. Okay, so if you're going to look up procon.org, then you can have that person, you could teach them how to, if you're a good writer, you could say, well, you know what, you can write a counter-argument paragraph that will really strengthen your argument. And I found a really good counter-argument on www.such and such, and that will really, that sort of thing. So you can comment on the topic, but we got to agree to disagree. Then comment on essay structure. Are all of their paragraphs 5 to 7 sentences long? Does he have 3 parts to an essay? Does he have one central idea backed up by supporting paragraphs? Is his thesis correctly placed as the last sentence of the first paragraph? Does the thesis have 3 reasons? Do his body paragraphs relate back to his thesis? And does his conclusion paragraph restate the thesis and summarize the essay? I thought I got rid of these book things. Oh well, I forgot. So does the introduction contain a hook, bridge, and thesis statement? Do the topic sentences relate back to the thesis? And do the subpoints in the body paragraphs relate back to the topic sentences? And did the writer restate the thesis as the first sentence of the last paragraph? And as you're checking your paper, ask yourself these revision questions. Does my essay make sense? How can I improve my essay? Are there any APA errors? Should I include APA in-text citations? Are my reference citations correct? How can I make my paper more exciting? Are there any grammar or punctuation mistakes? And of course, I already mentioned about compliment other students, be kind and courteous. And so now that you understand how to do you understand how to do a peer review? That's just a yes and a no. Yes? Okay. I take that to mean yes. And then how to receive peer review. So are you negative or positive? If someone tells you you stink, do you get offended? So most of you have already said no. So basically, you have to be a good sport. When someone critiques your work or gives you feedback, be a good sport. Receive feedback with a spirit of fun. Stay positive. And even if you get a lousy job review, always stay positive. Have a growth mindset. And think about a job review or a peer review as a way to grow, as a way to improve, because we're all works in progress. So always stay positive. And give yourself an A for effort. So even if you get a low grade, it's how we come back and how we bounce back from a low grade or from any obstacle that makes us feel better. So pick yourself up and tell yourself, I got an A+ for effort. And so the second score always wins. So it's how we overcome adversity that is the measure of our character. So do not be offended and have fun working together. And so no need to feel scared that anyone is trying to attack you. No one is going to laugh at you. We are all in this together. Oh, I like this picture. And then think of the forum as a coaching or tutoring session. Think of the peer review forum as a coaching session for your paper. And think of other student feedback as helping you get a better grade. And so as you give feedback to others, just think of actionable suggestions to help other students' grades. And think of the feedback as suggestions for you to help your grade. So here you have, that's it. So do you feel better now that you know what is a peer review? Here's some peer review templates of past students. So ineffective feedback. That was interesting. Your paper was informative. This paper sucks and it was boring. Effective feedback. You need to work on your essay structure. You need to work on your thesis statement does not connect to your topic sentence do not connect to your thesis statement. Or you would say your paragraphs are too short. So the reviewer assesses the ideas, organization, and voice in the writing. Feedback should be detailed and constructive. Such a critique could be completed with the aid of a review sheet or a checklist. So you could use a checklist. You really need to fix that opening. What were you thinking? Are you kidding me? That's not the way we do a feedback. We say, let's look closely at this paper. Could you rewrite the first sentence so that it grabs the reader's attention? Also, I'm somewhat confused by the thesis statement. Can you rephrase it? So that's thorough feedback. Or, John, you have a great topic. I agree that guns are unnecessary. But you know, John, you do not have 3 reasons in your thesis. You need to place your thesis as the last sentence of the first paragraph. But I love the strengths of how descriptive you are in your body paragraphs. So those are some examples. Jackie, you write so much better than I do. English is not my native tongue, so I don't know how much I can help you, but you have much better sentence structure than I do, and you use a lot of transitions. Jackie, you are missing your in-text citations. Professor H says that when you cite medical facts, you have to cite the source to avoid plagiarism. You are also missing quotation marks around your direct quotes. Your paraphrase quote does not need page numbers. However, you have a great thesis statement, and you follow the thesis statement formula of topic plus opinion plus reason, and your body paragraphs support your thesis, and you have good cohesion. And then another example is, Lamika, you need to double space your paper. Why is one font bigger than the other? And you can go to www.apa.org for feedback. Riri, you need to rewrite your thesis because your paragraph is too long. Professor H says that you have to have shorter paragraphs, so you need to cut down your paragraphs. Erica, you are missing a paragraph. You only have 4 paragraphs in your essay, and this is supposed to be a 5-paragraph essay. Here you have somebody who's an ESL speaker. I am not a good writer. My English teacher says my papers are terrible, so I don't know how much I can help you. To me, your paper sounds good. Your paper makes sense to me, and I understand the main idea of your paper. And I agree that teachers should not have guns in the classroom. You have great reasons. Oh, I noticed you don't have any sources for your assignment, and for essay 2, you need to have at least one source. And so here, for essay 1, you don't have to have any sources, but for essay 2, you have to have APA source. Mona, you have a great paper, but you don't have any sources for your in-text citations. Where did you get the information from? Professor H says we need to have sources at the end of our paper. I'm working on sources too. And you can also go to Google Scholar to find scholarly sources. If you can't find, just email Professor H and she will help you. And then you can also correct someone's reference citation. You could say, Maria, your reference citation is missing parts. Professor H says that a reference citation needs an author name, date, article name, publication, date we retrieved website, and then the web address. You cannot just provide only a web address for your reference citation. I really love your APA. Oh, and you can find some APA reference citation at the Purdue OWL Library. You should check that out. The rest of your paper looks great. Then your body paragraphs has great descriptive language. Charnice, your body paragraphs do not relate back to your thesis. You are writing about many different ideas with no relation to each other, and your paper does not make sense to me. I can't tell whether you are for or against abortion. What is your paper about? And Professor H says that you need to have a thesis statement that follows this formula: topic plus opinion plus reason. She says that if you follow TOR, your paper will make sense. So you should ask her about this. And then Christina, you are using too many statistics in a row. Professor H says we can only use one in-text citation per paragraph. She taught us about pie structure. So you have to watch her pie structure video in the announcements. And until I learned pie structure, I also was writing too many statistics in a row. So what is pie structure? P is the main point from the thesis. I is the one in-text citation. And then E is 5 sentences that describes that in-text citation. And so you can use that structure for all of your body paragraphs. So you have too many statistics. You need to transform your body paragraphs into pie structure. Latanya, I see no mistakes in your paper. You have a great thesis. I agree that everyone should get vaccinated against COVID-19. I'm worried about the variants. You can tell this is an old one, huh? You can use these reasons too, Latanya, about people should get vaccinated. If everyone gets vaccinated, we can all get herd immunity. Boy, that seems like such a long time ago I wrote this. So you can also ask other people for help. If you get stuck on a source, if you can't do a thesis statement. And anyway, that's it for the model peer reviews. Did these model peer reviews help give you an idea of what kind of peer review to give other students? Yes?
Yes.
Was it helpful?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. So I hope I'm not being too, and then steps for next week is going to be your first peer review. So first you post your paper. So you need to post your rough draft or whatever you have before Wednesday of that week. Then from Wednesday to Sunday, you have until Sunday to peer review 2 student papers. So that means that you have to go back to the board, to the forum every so often to see what other people have given feedback to you, so that you can incorporate the corrections into your paper. And so when you hand in your paper, don't hand in the same paper over and over again without corrections, or you're going to get a lower grade. So the whole purpose of the peer review is to incorporate the feedback and have a better paper in the end. And then wait. You can. So that means you got to go back at least 2 or 3 times. Don't just post and leave. And then that would be it. And then you include the feedback. And then you include the feedback in your final draft in week 6. and then that's it for weeks essay 1. So essay 1 is the first 6 weeks of this class, and then we're going to do essay 2 for the last 6 weeks of this class. And you're also going to fit in a persuasive essay in the middle. So you're going to be doing a narrative essay, you're going to be doing a persuasive essay, and a comparison contrast essay within this class. 3 different kinds of essays. So is everything clear about and then peer review in the real world, and this is how we have peer review in the real world, is when you have a professional peer review in which you publish an article and then other writers have to read your article before it can get published. And so that's what somebody is doing to my article, although it takes forever. And so faculty have to write professional articles, and then other faculty would peer review it in order to tell you what mistakes you made. And then the faculty member has to correct their paper before it gets published to the journal. And so here is an example of two. I made cartoons of myself and a friend of mine, and we're peer reviewing each other's professional papers. And so then that's called scholarly peer review. And that means that everybody looks at your paper before you see it published in order to check for essay mistakes and the government policy. So even in government, they peer review each other, such as climate change, where China peer reviews what America does for climate change, and so on and so forth. So everybody compares each other to each other. And in nursing, do you peer review other nurses on how well they're doing on their job, especially if you're a senior nurse? Do you supervise younger nurses and tell them what they're doing wrong?
Yes, I get that all the time.
Oh, okay. You get that, or you're the one supervising?
No, I get
Supervising. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'm only a year in.
Oh, okay. So some of you are receiving it, and some of you are giving it. How many of you are giving it? You're senior or not?
I'm 15 years in,
So you're the one giving it. And who's junior and has to be always receiving it from somebody older?
That will be me.
Oh, okay. That would be okay. So you're either giving it or receiving it. Now for nurses, you could also write professional articles to professional journals. This is an example of a professional nursing journal that you could write to. So if you write professional articles and then you put that into your resume, this will make your resume stand out because all the other nurses have not done the same thing. So just like with teachers, when I was mentioning how I would write a professional article, nurses can also write professional articles to other nurses, okay? And this goes for if you're a dental hygienist, same thing. There's a journal for everything. So this happens to be an example of something for nurses. And then here I write, more experienced nurses evaluate the job performance. That's how peer review is done in the real world. And right now, I just wrote my article, and it's still going through peer review. I haven't heard back. I just submitted it, and it's like, nothing so far. And my boyfriend has to undergo, he's an engineer, and all the other engineers, they have to peer review his job. And they keep telling him that he's way too aggravated at work. They say, you can't be showing your aggravation at work. And so that's a technical peer review. And also peer review is used in job performance, okay? And then also used when you buy something. So that is an example of peer review. That is it. So that is it for today's. Today is really, really short, okay? And so next week's lecture will be about the week 5 quiz, which will focus on punctuation. And so today was very, very short. And next Wednesday, you're going to go over the week 5 quiz, in which we're going to go over punctuation and mechanics. Does anyone have any questions about how to do a peer review? No? Do you want to go over your paper? Does anyone want to go over your? So I know I went over Chantel's paper. Anybody else brave enough to go over their paper?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Are these slides going to be on the syllabus so I can reread it to help me?
I will upload it to your email. I'll upload it to everybody, so then you can read it. Yes. So,
And then our rough draft need to be turned in by next Wednesday, and we need to respond to 2 people essay by Sunday.
yes, that's right, next week. It's next week's forum, Forum 4, not Forum 3. Forum 3 is just a food game. Yeah, but starting in Forum 4, you will be doing a peer review, yeah. Whatever it is that you've done to your paper so far. Some people have only done 1 paragraph, some people have done 5 paragraphs, but whatever you've done, you just put it to the Jasmine.
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment. So is everybody okay? Nobody wants to go over their paper? No? Turning up a Zoom, one-on-one Zoom session. Okay, that's good. That means everybody is very confident and they're gonna all get A's on their paper, yes. So if you have no more questions, I can end this Zoom session. So next week we'll go over a quiz, okay? So I will end this session and hope to see you all next week, okay?
See you next week.
See you next week.